Viewers, before we dive in, post your location and local time in the comments. It's always fun seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Now, picture this, a little lakeside house, nothing grand. Just the kind of place where the morning sun turns the ripples gold and you can hear the loons before you even open your eyes. That's where Alex, a retired hydrogeologist, plans to spend his mornings, coffee in hand, maybe casting a lazy fishing line off a modest 8 by 10-foot floating dock. It's not a palace, it's not a marina, just one man's idea of tranquility. But tranquility has a funny way of running headfirst into the wrong neighbor. And for Alex, that wrong neighbor was Brenda Miller, the imperious chairwoman of the HOA's Architectural and Environmental Review Committee. Now, Brenda isn't your garden variety stickler. She's the kind of person who can turn a 3-sentence bylaw into a 6-page sermon. She receives Alex's simple dock application and returns a written denial that reads like she's discovered a nuclear reactor bobbing off his shoreline. Words like fragile littoral zone and aquatic breeding disruption are thrown around. And while historians still argue whether Brenda actually knew what littoral meant, one thing was clear. She wasn't about to let that dock happen. She signed it all with BAN art history, as though that was the final stamp of ecological authority. Alex, with 40 years spent studying water systems, is floored, not by her opposition, but by the misuse of science. He's mapped aquifers, remediated contaminated groundwater, designed sustainable watershed plans. He can read a lake like some folks read mystery novels. Her letter wasn't environmental stewardship, it was a word salad dressed with arrogance. Still, instead of blasting back, he goes for the gentle approach. He puts together a simple presentation for the next HOA meeting, explaining his dock's harmless materials and zero impact on the lake bed. Think diagrams, university citations, and even an offer to answer questions. The meeting room's beige walls seem to sag under the weight of Brenda's smirk. Alex presents calmly, but before any board member can speak, she shuts it down, citing holistic synergistic ecosystems and precedent-setting risks. George, one quiet board member, murmurs that it sounds harmless. She swats him down with, "Are you an ecologist? No? Then let us do our job." It's like trying to reason with a brick wall that's read one Wikipedia article. The next morning, Alex finds a violation notice taped to his door, citing unauthorized environmental assessment because he was seen taking photos of his own shoreline. The HOA threatens $100 a day fines if he continues. That's when the shift happens. The mild-mannered retiree decides he's done playing nice. Brenda's tried to box him in with bylaws. What she doesn't know is she's just given a man with decades of environmental expertise a reason to go full investigative mode. And when a hydrogeologist goes full project mode, it's not clipboards and polite memos. It's the kind of deep-dive research that can turn the tide in ways Brenda can't even imagine. Alex turns the spare bedroom into what his wife affectionately calls mission control. Out come the old sampling kits, the Secchi disc for water clarity, dissolved oxygen meters, pH testers, and sediment cores. If Brenda thought she could stop him with a notice about unauthorized assessment, she hadn't done her homework. An HOA can't stop a homeowner from collecting data on state-regulated waters any more than they can fine you for watching clouds. And historians still argue whether Brenda ever truly understood that line in the bylaws, or if she just liked the sound of her own pen on paper. Every morning for 2 weeks, Alex paddles his canoe to 5 fixed points on the lake. By the inlet stream, the deepest basin, the shallow cove, off his own shore, and near the outflow weir. Surface and deep samples, GPS coordinates, exact times, no detail too small. He measures temperature, dissolved oxygen, turbidity on the spot, then drives the samples an hour to a certified lab he's trusted for decades. He orders a full workup: nitrates, phosphates, E. coli, heavy metals, pesticides. Overkill for a dock? Absolutely. But this isn't just about a dock anymore. It's about building a fortress of fact. And then, like a good mystery novel, the pieces start clicking. Dissolved oxygen levels in deep water? Low. Dangerously low for early summer. Clarity? Off, with a faint haze that suggests excess solids or algae. Lab results? Phosphate levels high across the board, a flashing neon sign for eutrophication, the slow death of a lake from nutrient overload. But from where? Upstream's clean, septic systems modern, fertilizers restricted. That means the problem is inside the lake itself. Cue the canoe trip to the old outflow weir. Alex notices the concrete's cracked, weeds sprouting, and most importantly, a dark, wet stain below the official waterline, little trickles slipping through hairline fractures, and one steady drip near the base. It's a slow bleed, lowering the water level enough to disrupt seasonal turnover, starving deep water of oxygen, and inviting algae to throw a never-ending pool party. Brenda's pristine environment is actually a patient and quiet decline, and her committee's neglect is the cause. Alex digs into HOA records, finds the weir mentioned only once in 8 years for vegetation removal. No inspections, no repairs. In her zeal to block his dock, Brenda's exposed the board to something much bigger, a case of gross negligence that could cost the community 6 figures. And that's when Alex's plan crystallizes into a 3-point mission. Bypass the HOA with a bulletproof state permit application, expose the failing weir to the community, and dismantle Brenda's image as the lake savior. The permit application becomes a masterpiece, 50-plus pages, complete with bathymetric maps, vegetation surveys, sediment core analysis, material safety data sheets, and a step-by-step installation plan with no machinery in the water. He mails it to the State Department of Environmental Protection like a lawyer serving papers, knowing it will take weeks to process. Meanwhile, Brenda mistakes his quiet for surrender. She walks her dog past his property, pauses to smirk at the vanquished shoreline. She doesn't know the real stage is being set, the annual HOA meeting, packed with residents, where Alex's presentation will be listed innocuously as a resident's report on the health of Oak Haven Lake. She'll expect a whiny plea for sympathy. What she'll get is the environmental equivalent of pulling the tablecloth out from under her entire tea set, while the tea is still hot. The state's envelope lands in Alex's mailbox like a sealed verdict. Inside, permit approved, stamped with the Department of Environmental Protection seal, no conditions. A senior scientist even compliments the depth of his research and forwards it to the Watershed Division. In one swoop, the highest authority has vaporized Brenda's veto power. The HOA can't override a state-issued environmental permit any more than they can rewrite gravity. Alex tucks the original safely away and prints a copy large enough to make the state seal visible from space. The night of the annual meeting, the clubhouse is packed, more than 100 residents fanning themselves with agendas. Brenda sits at the head table, spine stiff, eyes scanning for her moment to strike. She calls Alex up, dripping with condescension about unregulated development. He connects his laptop. First slide simple, a report on the health of Oak Haven Lake. Brenda leans back, smug. Click. The second slide fills the wall, his state permit, seal gleaming. He tells the crowd the state has reviewed his full hydrogeological survey and approved his dock as posing no risk. A murmur rolls through the room. Brenda's smirk freezes, then cracks. George, the quiet board member and retired engineer, smiles faintly. Alex doesn't stop. He moves through slides of declining oxygen levels, rising phosphates, hazier water, all explained in plain language. Faces shift from curiosity to concern. And then, the close-up photos of the leaking weir. This, Alex says, is what's hurting our lake, not a floating dock. The room stills. Brenda tries to dismiss it as normal dampness, until George leans into his mic, calmly confirming Alex's analysis and adding that the board has never inspected the weir. That's the tipping point. Residents start shouting questions. Why no maintenance? How much will repairs cost? Why focus on bird feeders when the dam is crumbling? Brenda bangs her gavel, but the gavel's lost its spell. Alex delivers the quiet coup de grace. He's already shared the full data set with the state. The implication is clear. This problem is on the record now, far beyond Brenda's reach. The crowd turns, demanding action. A motion of no confidence in Brenda's committee passes almost unanimously. In the weeks that follow, an engineering firm confirms everything Alex reported, repair costs topping $100,000. An emergency assessment hits every homeowner's bill, the blame squarely on years of neglect. Brenda resigns via one-line email, stops attending events, and soon a for sale sign blooms in her yard. By the time the moving truck pulls away, Alex's dock is already built, simple, sturdy, coffee mug in hand as the sun comes up. The irony? In trying to stop a dock, Brenda forced the repair of a lake she claimed to protect. The community changes, too. George becomes board president, bylaws are rewritten, and a volunteer water quality program launches. A year after the new weir is built, clarity improves 50%, fish are more active, and the lake is healthier than it's been in decades. Alex set out for a quiet place to fish. He ended up saving an ecosystem. In the softened days that follow, the battles fade into memory. He thinks about how a little unchecked power can twist someone's sense of purpose, how rules without understanding become weapons instead of tools. He thinks, too, about the quiet power of showing up with facts when bluster fills the room. And as the water laps gently under his dock, he knows some victories aren't about winning an argument. They're about leaving something better than you found it.